I'm Alessandra. I'm the founder and CEO of Evermore, which we'll talk about. I grew up in Switzerland. I've been very much into sports and nutrition. I was a pro swimmer, so we kind of had to learn about that field. I used to teach windsurf and snowboard in high school, so my clients would ask me a lot about that as well. I had my first ever business at 11 years old, so the startup ecosystem really came around me naturally. I studied in Switzerland, in the States, and here at Oxford, and after that I worked as an investor. So I saw the trends in the sector in which I am in from a professional standpoint as well. And then I set up Evermore. Yeah, so I did my undergrad and my graduate straight because it's a typical thing to do in Europe. My experience was sort of like double-sided, really. So there was like what I studied and there were all the activities that I did. And when I talk about it, I always recommend you try and do as many side activities as possible because you meet like-minded people, you discover new interests, new hobbies, maybe you actually realize what you want to do afterwards as well. So I would say that when I finished my uni years, really, I had quite a good idea, but that's because I really spent time while I was at university trying to understand what I wanted to do. And that's why I'm saying if you can sort of like discover more about yourself, understand what really motivates you while you're at uni and you have quite a bit of time on the side, unless you're under exams, that's a great thing to do. I covered various different sectors, which was really interesting to me because having spent time in startups before, I knew I really liked that word, but I also had understood by then that I needed to find the right sector to align my passion and to really motivate me to execute day in and day out in a crazy new world, really. And so working as an investor across different sectors was really informative for that. I realized that I love this word. I love innovating. I love creating new things that are needed out there. And I'm fine with sort of like all the moving pieces around it, really. So I think first you need to understand that, and then also understand what you're passionate about, what you really want to solve, because entrepreneurship is tough. And so day in and day out, you need to know what you're in for. So for me, I worked in startups like at several different times. That made me realize I like that word, but really sort of aligning myself with my why, so with the reason why I do what I do. I also set up on the side a venture, a nonprofit in the educational tech space called Bright Mentors. So it's effectively a STEM nonprofit, and we have a network of mentors who have a technical background or a science background, and they go into secondary schools mainly for disadvantaged kids, and they teach them a little bit about what they do day in and day out. They're a positive role model for their lives. It feels a bit of like my contribution to helping with this cause. With networking, be curious, think about what you want to know about the people you're meeting, right? Because there's lots that you can learn from them, and people love talking about themselves. So you're there to promote yourself, but actually you're there also to learn about what they do, be interested, be fun to talk with. I think with networking, it's about being genuine, really, and that sounds straightforward, but when you meet people, when you talk with them about what they do, about what you do, you really want to build like genuine relationships. So for me, some of the friends that are also in entrepreneurship and I catch up with all the time, we're just really good friends, right? And we met in whichever context. I don't even know how I would have to think about it. But for me, it's really about looking for more than just the surface. I extremely believe in continuous learning. out of uni. In fact, I think it's almost more important. And I think that's something you really want to keep in mind, and you want to sort of encourage yourself to continuously learn. Be curious, really. Be curious and ask yourself as much as possible about what's around you. Try to teach yourself new skills, inform yourself. Don't think that, you know, it's like at uni where you go to a class, you get told something and you read the books. It's much more exciting than that in a way, because it's up to you, right? And it's really up to you what you decide to kind of like inform yourself about. But really having that curious attitude, as in you want to kind of like discover and explore what's out there, is great and it's fun.